There's actually two ways to put parts onto a service ticket and deliver them to the mechanic, and I'm going to kind of cover both, but the whole point in this video is to kind of decide whether you want to request parts or not request parts. And so I want to start off explaining to you what that means exactly. So as a service manager, when I come in here, and let me add a quick job here so that we'll just do a test job. So I want to add a part to this job, and so I'm going to look it up in the parts lookup system, whatever it is that we happen to be using, and we're going to go ahead and click to add a part. And so I'm going to, now you can also do this from pick list and that kind of stuff as well, but I'm just kind of throwing it on here for the demo. Now this brings up all the information that we know about the part, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it that we're going to get it out of this particular bin, and I'm just going to add and close the control. Now at this point, I have a bit of a dilemma because I know that that part is required for this job, but the mechanic isn't necessarily working on this job right this second. I may be doing a triage here. I may be ordering something that the mechanic's going to need at a later date, and there may be some other things that he's going to also need. So I'm really needing two things. I need to get the parts, but I also need to know where to put the parts. And so what we have done with Lizzy is we've added the ability to request items. And basically what that does is it sends a request to the parts department, and it basically holds on to it. And it waits until someone actually goes to pull the parts, and at that point it tells them where to go put the parts. So if I come down here and click the green button that you're accustomed to clicking, then that actually tells the system that you have allocated that part to this service ticket. You've basically not only allocated it, but you have delivered it to the mechanic. He physically has possession of that part. And that's not really what we want to do. If I've got 100 service tickets or 20 service tickets in here, I don't want to allocate all of those parts specifically to a mechanic until he's ready to actually start working on it. And so what we do in Lizzy is we create service bins, and they basically are nothing more than a bin with numbers on them, 1 through 50, 1 through 100, whatever it happens to be. And then Lizzy will automatically allocate parts to a bin, and then when the customer is ready to come get the part, or when the mechanic's ready to come get the parts, I just go to Lizzy and say, hey, I need the parts for service ticket 124, and it takes me to that bin to deliver the parts to the mechanic at that point. So there's a whole process for tracking all this stuff. Now, we used to think, well, in a one-man environment where I've got the service manager who happens to be the owner and who also happens to be the parts guy, it doesn't make sense to go through all those extra steps. But in reality, if you think about it, just the allocating part alone and the ability for me to create a service ticket, put a part on it, and not have to worry about pulling this part right this second, they all kind of add up to saving some time and getting me more organized. So even though I might be a one-man show, I may still want to use this request items control. So you can feel perfectly welcome to click the green button and manage it manually, but the request items is actually a pretty powerful tool if you learn how to use it. So what happens when we click this? Well, first of all, I can't click the green button down here to deliver the parts to the service ticket, because that's not what we're doing. We're requesting these items and we're going to hold them in a bin for later. So we're just going to come up here and click the request items. And if I were to go back and add another part to the service ticket, it'll come back and it'll put another request item. So it knows that one of the parts has already been requested, and now we've added a new one. We can even change the quantity on a part, and it knows that it needs to request an additional quantity. So the question becomes, where did the part go? We've created the service ticket, we put the part on it, but it's not here. And so how does anybody know to go get the part? Well, that's easily determined over here in inventory. So we're going to go to the parts department now in the inventory section. I'm going to go to process items, and I'm going to tell it I want to process in stock items. Now this tells me that we have 3 items to pull. Those could be 3 items for an internet order, or they could be 3 items for service. It really doesn't make any difference. All I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to pull the current contact or pull the next bin. So if I'm the person that's pulling these things, I'm just going to tell it, in this case, I'll pull in the current contact, and it's telling me right here that I need to put this in service bin 20. Now, do I really care about who the customer is or what the service ticket is? No, not at all. All I know is that I need to go get one of these parts from this bin. I need to click this button and tell it that I have it. I now have the part, and I am sticking it in bin 20. And so I'm just going to tell it to pull the items, and everything's done. And so next, I can come over here and tell it to pull the next bin, and I can sit here and pull parts for 5 different service tickets at the same time and let Lizzy tell me where to put them, and I'm totally not concerned with anything else. Now, at some point, the mechanic is going to come back to me, and he's going to say, hey, I need the parts for this service ticket. Easy. We come in here, we locate the service ticket, we come over here to the service department. So I'm just going to close this guy, and we're going to come down here to deliver items. At that point, it brings up the service ticket that we just located, and I'm just going to tell it that we're going to deliver one of these items and hit the deliver button. And so now we're on the service ticket, and if we open up this job, you can see here that it's already attached it, it's already delivered it. It did everything that we needed to do. And in the interim, the service list that we're used to working with for managing all this, which is covered in some additional videos, the service list is cognizant of the fact that this part is on order, or the part hasn't been pulled yet, or whatever the situation is, so that when I look at it at a glance, I can tell what the situation is for that part. So the point is, whether you're a small shop or a big shop, we think the pull items button and the pull items process actually makes more sense for helping you keep track of all of the parts and where they go and who they're for than trying to keep up with it manually.